After a long drought that has impacted much of the West, Idaho is in need of a good dose of winter weather. We've gotten some snow, however, El Nino may make things drier than normal this winter. Denny Hawkins and Roland Stedham teamed up to find out what this El Nino holds in store for Idaho.
Cars are underwater here.
Already this season, historic flooding has drenched parts of the desert Southwest.
Are we stuck? Yeah, we're stuck.
And unfamiliar sea creatures are finding new homes along the U.S. Pacific coast. These rare encounters, scientists say, are pieces of evidence that a strong El Nino has formed and is already influencing weather patterns across the country. The term El Nino has since become a household name, and its potential impacts are now a big topic of conversation.
El Nino and La Niñas, they're one of the better understood large-scale atmospheric and ocean interactions out there.
In order to understand how an El Nino forms, I have to explain what happens during a normal pattern. We have trade winds that blow from the east to the west. The frictional force of the air moving over the surface of the water takes this warm water at the surface and it pretty much transports it all the way down into the South Pacific. This is what causes the big monsoons we hear so much about in the Indian Ocean. Now, during an El Nino year, what happens is that these trade winds begin to weaken, and in some cases they actually reverse, in essence driving the warm water from the South Pacific into the coastline of Central and South America. That causes the jet stream to move much farther south than it normally would, making it wetter than normal for the southern states and typically drier than normal for us here in the Northwest.
There are strong El Nino events where we've seen wetter than normal conditions across much of Idaho, and so it's not always the drier than normal, but just more likely.
If you want a wetter than normal scenario for the state of Idaho, you want El Nino's little sister, which is known as La Niña. And that occurs when we get these very, very strong trade winds, and that pushes a lot of that warm water down into the South Pacific. That water has to be replaced by something. It pulls up very cold water from the bottom of the ocean floor. This is what we call upwelling. It invites a very active jet stream to move in from the Gulf of Alaska and primarily impact the northwestern part of the country. Here on the Payette River in June of 2010, this rock behind me was completely underwater. In fact, there's a scar 15 feet above where the river is currently flowing right now from the record 21,000 cubic feet per second we had. It was evidence of how much wetter than normal a La Niña can be for Idaho. El Nino, on the other hand, is much less predictable.
That's a little inconvenient considering winter weather is critical to life in Idaho. It affects everything we do, from our recreational opportunities right down to the food we eat. Whether you're strapping in to hit the slopes or you're just already dreaming of your next float down the Boise River, precipitation is key to all of it. Rain is good, but snow is better. So what could this strong El Nino mean for our winter here in Idaho? Really, there's no way to be sure of the answer just yet.
Looking at the past 12 other strong El Nino years, it looks like here in southern Idaho, 50% of the time it's been above average in terms of runoff and 50% below normal.
El Nino is no guarantee of a wet or dry winter for our state. Especially in southern Idaho, this year, winter could go either way. It seems Mother Nature will be the one to have the final say.
I'm looking forward to this year. It's going to be interesting. How it sets up, we just don't know yet, but we know it's going to be an interesting year.